Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Final Stop Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Bridge-gadd, live from the ever-glorious Mescal Manor, Mach 2. Over here on the other side of the country, it's the Vampire King himself, King Possum, Lord Meerkat. It's Tristan Bogan.
Just power through it, buddy. You got it.
Yes! On the side table is the big man himself, the anti-Riz Patrick Oriana. It's Andrew Oriana.
What's up, dude?
This is good. I like this. This is nice. We have goddamn comedic royalty in the motherfucking building.
Come on.
Let me do a big intro. It's club owner, businessman, philanthropist, playboy, Jewish man, gams out, heavily dressed, heavily chosen. It's Rick Bronson and GM of the Plano House of Comedy, the boy Kyle Graves.
Hey guys.
I love that. Hey, you like that? You like the big intro? You like the big intro?
I would like to add in some more adjectives for Rick Bronson if I could. Too good at magic. It's so annoying. Annoyingly good at magic. I remember the time I was on your back patio, I asked you to explain a trick to me, then you did it 3 more times in my face. And that fucking pissed me off more than I get it. Yeah, I'm just like, oh, dude, how did you do that? And you're like, no, let me show you. And here's your card. And I'm like, that's not explaining it to me.
Tristan?
But,
We say that?
We lost you. He hit his cord with his Budweiser.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry. Sometimes there's latency issues. But very good at magic. Too good at piano. A little bit of a La La Land.
Like
that I see. Yeah, he sits down at the piano and he's like...
It inspired Tristan to strip down and lay atop the baby grand at my house. He did.
I did. Well, it's only because you had the bearskin rug. I wanted to do the Burt Reynolds, and you allowed me.
That's exactly how it went down.
Dude, you were gripping sheets at Rick's crib? This explains everything.
Well, no, he busted out the acrylics, and we decided to paint each other. It wasn't painting on canvas. Our bodies were the canvas.
It's really quite amazing what a comic will do for 2 weeks of feature work for a calendar year.
Yeah. Where's the work, Rick? Where's the work?
You know how this works. I lost the ability to book in the divorce. You know that. I lost my dogs and the ability to put comics on stage.
Rick, is he good?
Tristan? Well, it's going to be awkward to answer that question now with him looking at us. But
yes. You can be honest. I'm.
So what I love, honestly, with Tristan, why I took to his comedy so much is he has an incredibly unique, distinct style. When you watch him, you don't really go, oh, he reminds me of this guy, which happens 9 out of 10 times with those. Even with me, like I was such a high-energy, fast-paced comic that people would say, oh, you work like Sam Kinison, or you work like this guy, because he's just so, I was just so hammered. But Tristan's he's an absurdist, mixed with uniqueness. He often goes on stage dressed like the white fucking Urkel. Like, I mean, he is unique as, if you looked up the word unique in the dictionary, definitely Tristan.
Some would say an oddity.
Definitely, all those things. Carnival freak show, like, absolutely.
Listen, I was getting my dick sucked and I loved it. And then you had to spin into, so a circus clown. So what you're saying is...
It's just a bearded lady.
Yeah.
Don't be
shoot him out of a cannon.
There's nothing wrong with that. I can't remember the comic, but for whatever reason, this just popped in my head and reminded me of a joke that I heard when you talked about oddities or absurdists. But this guy says, you look at musicians like Bob Dylan, and this guy is just prolific writer, and he plays the harmonica and the guitar at the same time and just kills it. And he goes, and like Bruce Springsteen, same thing. The guy can play the guitar and the harmonica and sing. And then he says, but that one asshole goes the extra mile and straps some cymbals onto his knees. He's a fucking lunatic, right?
Dude, I've always wanted, because I've been in Times Square and I've seen some of those one-man band guys, because there's a couple. Yeah, around Times Square, and I just want to see them fall down the subway stairs so loud. And so just to hear the solo that they would do as they fall down the stairs, because there's a non-zero chance where it's like, in the same respect where, like, if you get 100 monkeys, eventually they'll do Shakespeare. They will do Sweet Home Alabama if you push enough of them down the stairs. I promise you can hear it.
I like it. I think that's a plan. I think that's a short. That's something we should be recording. That's actually quite
fun. Just go and assault random just street workers. Dude, I would love.
As far as which, like, what genre, whether you're saying music,
what gets you off more when you do a watch this hand, not this hand, or when you tell a joke and people laugh?
I'll tell you what honestly gets me off artistically. It's less about the medium, whether it's magic, comedy, music, but it's watching someone. And it's probably why I still, embarrassingly and shamelessly, I'll admit, I still will flip. If I see something like America's Got Talent on TV, I'll fucking stop and watch. Yeah. Because what I love are the moments where people have what they feel is kind of their big break moment. And just when someone, again, regardless of their art, and obviously I'm closer to comedy and magic because I've been doing both those things for 40 plus years, but just to watch someone absolutely own a room or destroy at their skill is what I always find the most inspiring.
Even if it's like a Swedish team of backflip dancers. If
they're the best Swedish team of backflip dancers that have ever lived and they can absolutely wow and own a room, yeah, absolutely. It's really less about the art.
Sometimes I feel like the whole like America's Got Talent or like the overall talent show thing that they do, where like, do you know where like the finalists go to Vegas and shit like that, and they have that whole show? I feel like it's kind of like a little bit like pro wrestling, where they kind of set it up a little bit, where they're just like, all right, we got the blind burn victim trapeze artist. She's going to get the golden buzzer. We know that for certain. And like, but still, I get goosebumps like a nerd. I'm like sitting here just being like, I knew it! And it just like, it plays Fight Song by Katy Perry.
Yeah, no, they always play some, or they'll play a little bit of Coldplay that, it's always one of those emotional kind of slow building heart. We're by the time this video segment's over, we're gonna make you cry, motherfucker.
Soon as it goes into slow motion and the singer goes like this, and then always like try your best and you don't succeed. It's just like, oh my god, who knew?
And just meanwhile you're a comedian out right after that. They go, you follow that, have fun.
Well, I gotta say, so up in Canada they have the Canadian version, literally Canada's Got Talent. And one of my Edmonton comics that started with us got golden buzzard in Canada just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, damn.
I guess it would have been a couple of months ago, but in TV time 2 weeks ago. But yeah, really cool. Even though it's not AGT and it's not this big, massive international show and it's just a Canadian show, it's always kind of cool. Like, I mean, that's what I was telling Kyle on the way over here, part of why I come to do things like, your guys' podcast is, one, I've been in this business for so long that it's very easy to get jaded by comedy and not really appreciate the art and have the passion and love that I once had for it. But by spending my time, and then you guys know this, I mean, no matter how many big headliners roll through town, I spend by far 90% of the time that I give to comedians for as far as one-on-one time or group-to-one time is always with my local guys and guys that are more often than not less than 10 years into the game, because you guys still have a passion and a desire and you're still climbing and scratching away. And
crawling was the right adjective.
The reason why it probably came out is because it's a slow process and you have to crawl before you can walk, and certainly before you need to walk before you can run. So
do you want to hear a true story about I feel like this is kind of a testament to that, just because you've always been so cool with you hanging out with like local comedians, and I feel like that doesn't go like appreciated enough, because I remember it was, I believe, my 22nd or 23rd birthday at the House of Comedy, and it was me, you, and Daniel in the back of your Escalade eating In-N-Out, like openly smoking.
No, it was a Range Rover. Yeah, you were smoking cigarettes in a Range Rover, which is the richest shit I've ever seen.
And then you're just like,
how did that even happen?
No, because we went to like someplace, and then you were getting hit on at a Mexican restaurant, which was fun to watch. And then we go to In-N-Out, you go to the bathroom, and you're just like, yo, I gotta take a leak, I'll be right back. And then
by the way, if that is your Rick Bronson impression, well done, Matt friend. We're gonna get you on Stern next week.
Oh, dude, how did that? Listen, that's a loaded compliment. No, it was definitely, there was a moment where me and Daniel were looking at each other. We're just like, dude, what's going on? Like, this guy has like half of his names attached to like major comedy clubs across the country, and like he's just hanging out with us, and it's just like you wouldn't see that with most people, but like you're the exception because you know how much that like means not only to local guys, but like how much it means to like the overall comedy experience, where you're just having someone who's such a veteran in performing and also managing, and just like you can kind of spot good stuff. Your intel for like the local comedy scene is like very important.
Well, it's very kind of you to say. Like I said, though, it really is a mutual fondness, because if I didn't have the exuberance and youth and energy of you guys around me, I probably would not be in comedy clubs at all in this day and age. One, I just don't like how judgmental audiences have become in this cancel culture. Dude, I gotta tell you, so here, I'll share something with you guys. So, as you guys know, I mean, for the bulk of my career, I was doing 300 to 400 dates a year. But when I shifted to becoming a club owner and, got sick with my Crohn's and couldn't tour any longer, I do very few dates now. I do it very spare. I never wanted to be one of those club owners that does 45 minutes off the top every night at his own.
Wait. Have you been to stand-up Scottsdale? Have you been to stand-up Scottsdale, Rick? Because I feel like you may be taking a. And
I'm not even talking about one region. There's a lot of cities.
No, there's that guy everywhere. That guy is everywhere. Exactly. It's like, hey, my name's in the building. I'm gonna do a hot 15. Yeah. Before everyone else goes up.
No, I refuse to be that guy. But so the point I was going to try to tell you guys is about a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, I decided to do a full weekend in Edmonton. I was emceeing for K. Trevor Wilson from Letterkenny, and I hadn't done a 5-show weekend in a long time. So it's different, when you find your groove and you're doing some new jokes and bringing in even some old jokes. And I noticed that I had a few old bits that were either guaranteed big laughs and often even applause break. And now I actually can, having done 5 shows in a row like that, bang, 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 I noticed now that audiences, and it didn't even matter that I was in a blue collar market, but you can see they're not just immediately reacting to the joke and just letting their natural laughter and body do what it's supposed to do.
They got to check first a little bit.
Yeah, they do it, not just a self-check, but then they'll even look around the fucking room a little to make sure that, hey, is the rest of the section laughing?
Because you get excommunicated from your friend group if you laugh at a joke that's not, they go, ooh.
It's almost like you want to put those like fucking blinder. Like, do you know when you did a test in elementary school and you put up those binders so no one could cheat and shit like that? I'm like, I feel like we should do it at comedy clubs where it's like you're not allowed to look at your friends, you're only allowed to laugh by yourself.
Everyone's in cubicles, but it's like Buffalo Wild Wings, or like an American Airlines flight. Everyone's in their own cubicle. They have a 13-inch screen. They're watching the show.
People are most honest about comedy when they're alone in their car. That's why I feel like podcasts are so successful, because like how many times has there been the podcast where just like you're sitting there and you're being like, oh no, I got to show this to my girlfriend, and she's like, this is all right. And you're like, no, it's funny, I promise you.
I think that's the thing that live entertainment brings. That like, because you know what a funny joke is in your car? It's a nose laugh. You go. In it, when you get in like a comedy club, everyone screams laughing because there's like this group kind of aspect. So it's like, it's a double-edged sword. It's like, everyone sucks dick and they don't fucking laugh at anything. So like, I can't laugh at a black Jewish joke. That's horrible. God forbid a dog dies in a fucking joke. That's crazy.
Yeah, I can't believe you killed your imaginary dog. What were you thinking?
How dare you?
Kyle and I we were talking last night, actually, and because Kyle's a big fan of the art. He watches a lot of. Would you just tell me you finished watching? You just watched.
Oh, we were talking about Attell last night.
Attell, yeah.
You watch High Cross Bones?
No,
he hasn't seen it yet.
No. So here's what I told Kyle last night. Still to this day, other than quickly flipping through a few specials that were shot at one of our venues over the years, I'm still old school and I'm still a purist in the respects that I don't want to watch stand-up comedy through a medium other than a live stage.
I respect that.
I don't even want to see it on TV. I don't. And and I guess, the whole TV thing just kind of soured me a little bit, because when I was coming up in comedy, every once in a blue moon, a comic would get an HBO special.
Right.
And they were like, oh, fuck, that guy just made it. He got an HBO. But now it's every comic seems to have a special, a Netflix special. And when everyone has one, they just start to feel a little less special.
If everybody, that's the same take that I have on comedy holistically, where it's like, if everybody's funny, no one's funny. At like the top level, like all the top 1% guys, they're all funny. So then what separates you from those guys? Because at the end of the day, if the crowd goes, Josh, they laugh. That's the goal. But it's like, okay, there's a reason that Kevin Hart and all those guys are at the top. Everyone can make a crowd laugh if you're at that level. What separates you from, or what separates Kevin Hart from, there's a guy.
You're not wrong. There's something that automatically happens when you reach that kind of celebrity status, and I've always referred to them as SLs, star laughs. So if someone comes out that's a big celebrity, the audience is immediately going to be on their side, and even if it's kind of a weak joke or a softer joke, they're still going to. You'll still find they'll give it up more readily, as opposed to a comic that nobody knows their name, and if they open with the same joke and didn't grab the audience by the balls right out of the gate, would likely fall flat. So there's certainly perks to building your reputation up to a point where you're a celebrity, and you can definitely get away sometimes with some weaker jokes. But more often than not, I'd like to also believe that the reason why they are celebrities is because the cream does rise to the top, and you would hope that the guys that are on these that are that have made it because they actually have the goods to back it up.
I think there is. It's no luck involved. It's like, that he's lucky that he's selling out the Kia Forum. You're like, luck?
Yeah.
No, he's selling out the Forum because he's good. Whatever it is that he's trying to do, people bought in. Do you have?
I actually had a question for Kyle. I was just wondering, just because we're talking about the dichotomy, since you're a GM, you see a lot of people coming through Plano, and you see like the audiences and stuff like that. Do you feel like you can see like a dichotomy of like the people coming through to the shows to be like, because I feel like at Desert Ridge, sometimes it's like, all right, so it's within the same like Scottsdale like area, but do you see like people just like, oh, there's a hipster show, you're seeing more younger crowds coming in, or like more like diverse crowds coming in for individual shows or anything like that?
You know what it is? It's neither of those things. It's thirsty girls going after cheap Matt Rifes, and then there's dudes that will pull in just the oldest crowd, and then everything else is pretty similar. Unless they're a specific minority group, like you get like a Persian guy that brings out Persians,
right?
Or an Indian guy that brings out Indian guys, and it's not a lot. I mean, it's still a small portion of the audience. They'll do a little bit of kind of like pandering, but it's not like their whole set or anything. They just kind of lean into it. Like we've got a guy in this weekend who's Dominican. He did a lot of Dominican stuff because there were people in the audience, but for the most part, the audience is the same. I mean, you are what your demographic is around your club, but there's some younger comics that are huge on social, and those guys will bring out bachelorette parties and stuff like that.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. As like as a club owner and GM, what's the benefit of social media nowadays? Because as a young up and coming comic, I go back and forth, and I probably lean a little bit more on like the comedy's about 51% not jokes, and the 49% is the actual jokes. Do you guys? What's the split? Do you think on like?
Well, let me start by saying this, and you guys both know I've had this conversation either to both of you simultaneously, but I've certainly had it with many comics in the market and in our other markets. But unfortunately, in this day and age of comedy, it's a necessary evil. Yeah. Whether you like doing it or don't like doing it, part of your job is not just the 30 minutes you go on stage or hour if you're headlining. It's building your brand, building your base, building an audience. And if you're not even trying a little bit, I feel like in this day and age, you're throwing in the white towel into the ring pretty damn early.
It is. It's almost like back in the day. I'm sure when you were coming up, it's like the currency was like, oh, I wrote a new joke. And it's like, that's amazing. But now it's like, I can see guys that are like, I wrote so many new jokes. And I'm like, yeah, you didn't. Are you posting anything? Are you clipping it up?
But I have mixed feelings on that. I'll tell you why. So because I was kind of at the top of my stand-up game, like the internet was, but no one was uploading videos left, right, and center. Like you still shot on film. You didn't shoot digitally. But when I was coming up, if I wrote a joke, because I wasn't burning my material by posting it online right away, it allowed me to take that one joke and travel with it. And when you travel with a joke, you spritz stuff and you add things to it. And sometimes a joke becomes a bit, and sometimes a bit becomes a chunk. And sometimes if you can still keep massaging away at it, a chunk can become a routine. I mean, the reason why I had some success early on is I did it on a special that I did, a couple of jokes about having Crohn's disease, and it resonated with a lot of fans that sent me emails. And then those two jokes turned into a bit, which turned into almost an hour about my ass for the most part. And because of that, it put me onto this speaking bureau circuit. Where
what does Crohn's in your ass have? Is that like a thing?
Do you not know what Crohn's is?
I know Pete Davidson has it.
Please, I know what it is. Please explain.
Pete does have it. You're right. So Crohn's is classified as an IBD, inflammatory bowel disease. Not to be confused with a lot of people who say they have stomach problems and say they have IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome. So inflammatory bowel diseases are typically Crohn's, colitis, ileitis, those type of things that infect your intestinal tract. Colitis obviously referencing just the colon, and ileitis the ileum, but Crohn's disease could affect any part of your intestine from literally your throat right down to your butt. So it was a devastating disease to me because I got so sick in my 30s that I know that I was 2 straight months in a hospital, and when you're just a comic and don't own clubs and your paycheck is only as good as your next gig, it's really amazing how quickly you can run out of money laying in a hospital bed for 2 months,
Hold on. Yeah. I'm so interested in your, sorry, let me cut you off. I'm so interested in your story. How the fuck did you come up from being like a comedian stand-up into what was the flip into owning clubs? How'd you get into that?
Wow, well, that could be like a 3-week-long podcast.
I was going to say, because we're at the stage.
I was about to say, can you give me like a elevator pitch on your life story, right?
I'll try to.
I'm so curious because none of us are professional entertainers at this point. But you have gotten to a professional entertainer.
Oh yeah, no,
and then moved over into ownership and all these other avenues.
So the short answer is this. I guess if there is a cool fact about me, if you will, without sounding too self-grandiose, is I am one of the very lucky people in the world in the respects that I've never, other than delivering the Montreal Gazette when I was 11 years old, I've never had a real job. I've never worked for anyone, anywhere, anybody. When I was 12, I got into magic, and I strictly got into magic because a friend showed me a trick and wouldn't tell me how he did it. Kind of like the anger you felt, Tristan, when I showed you.
I was about to say, are you trying to breed me into being a magician just to hate to fuel me? Because honestly, you're right, and I got a fucking 3-cup routine that'll blow your dick off.
Awesome. Can't wait to see it. But I will outdo you with a 4-cup routine.
I got 5 cups and you don't even know where the orange is coming from.
I got a 6-pack aimed for your head.
Yeah, but when you say 6-pack, you're talking about your abs, you in-shape son of a gun.
No, he's talking about, dude, he's blowing out his abs with Bud Lights, trust me. He's blowing out his abs. He means a 6-pack.
He is still the prettiest Jew in the world. I think we can all agree on that.
If you think that's not going before the Wiz Khalifa laugh in our intro, you're fucking wrong.
Feel free.
The prettiest Jew in the world. Besides Woody Allen, the prettiest Jew in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Gal Gadot. I think easily laps Daniel, too.
If you think that's
Gal Gadot?
Yeah, I guess
don't be turned by this fat ass.
Yeah. As soon as we start bringing actual facts into it, he's just like, hey.
Because your Lenny Kravitz is kind of Jewish. It's like, no, fuck.
Don't even mention that Paul Rudd changed his last name. Come on, he's Jewish, but not. Come on.
I love Paul Rudd. Actually, he's great. What was I doing?
Better than Daniel?
You're
The elevator pitch. So I started as a magician at 12, and at the high school talent show, I was going to do magic, and one of my fellow classmates, our grade ahead of me, was going to do stand-up comedy. And I watched him do stand-up comedy, and after I watched him, I thought to myself, well, I feel like when I do my magic, I'm funnier. Like, I'm throwing in shtick all the time. So I asked him where he honed his craft, and he said he went to the local comedy club. So the very next week, I went to the local comedy club, and I still remember clear as day auditioning directly for the club owner in an empty room. And when you're a magician comedian, you know, most of what you do involves bringing up a spectator. So he had to be my spectator for the whole bit.
Can you imagine? That's so crazy, being like trying to get passed by the guy you're sawing in half. That's
but it's a good way to pressure someone into passing you pretty fucking quickly.
It's like, dude, you fucked up the first 3 times. I can't get sawed in half again.
His torso separated from his leg. Just being like, I don't think we got it, fam. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just his guts spilling out on the side of the stage, just being like, all right, we're going to call you for hosting spots, but I don't think you're ready for the weekend. All right, see you later.
Yeah. Right now, you kind of scream Sunday through Thursday.
He's holding a small intestine like, I don't believe you're 25. I don't believe it. It's crazy.
He's like, I'll be in the hospital for a couple months, but please send me your avails when I'm out.
What?
But yeah, I started stand-up at 15, and believe it or not, I was, because I had already performed for so long doing magic, I co-headlined before I had even turned 16 with another young comic from Montreal by the name of Jeff Rosspan, who's very, very funny. He's done The Tonight Show, like solid comic. And from there, stand-up, and what I loved about being in comedy is that even if you got bored or burnt out of being on the road, you can then put your energy into doing TV things or film things, or writing. And I liked that freedom. And so I ended up turning my stand-up show into a TV show, and I ended up producing a travel show that was on in 42 countries around the world and dubbed into about 15 different languages. And the only reason I point that out is because they dubbed it in French as well, and they hired someone else other than me to do the dubbing in French, even though I'm bilingual. Like, what the fuck?
I thought you were going to say the only reason why you pointed that out because Daniel got passed over for a travel show by Tubi recently.
I was just about to say, you mean that was my ticket in?
Who passed you over? What was it?
Long story short, I got hit up by a Tubi exec to do Tubi's
I know it. It's a streaming. I have a shitty Canadian feature film that I was a star of. That's all.
Don't rub it in.
I really
Just
do.
describe the bottom of the barrel in which it is, and then tell him of his aspirations, because it's so funny.
I got hit up. I didn't even ask for it. I didn't apply for nothing.
Hey, the way that he hit me up about it was, he was like, Fox hit me up, and I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, I was on the line with Tubi, and I'm like, I think Tubi hit you up.
Fox affiliate.
Oh,
Yeah.
so the way he got passed over was one of the funniest things.
That's crazy.
Bro, they're like, we loved you, but we found 5 people so much better than you.
It was crazy because they hit me up. This girl hit me up from Tubi. This like young, hot, kind of like intern lady. She's like, like you, nice jawline, whatever. And then I go on an interview with this lady from Fox, this lady from Tubi. Like, oh my god, it was called Fast Food Fusion. It was not a high class show. It was not.
What, were they looking for a host? Is that what were they casting for a host?
Yeah, they needed a set of tits and a jawline, and so they were like, "Let's
So
see."
you were the tits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let me tell you, Rick, he's gonna watch Fast Food Fusion. He's gonna get Tubi just to see who cook him out.
Watch it the same way niggas watch the Kardashians. Just being like these non-talented, fucking no skill having motherfuckers.
I don't even think you have to get. I think Tubi's a free streaming. I don't think they charge you. I think that
Tell it like it is, Ricky.
If they
Tell it
pick
like
up
it
this
is.
show, they might actually pay people to tune in and watch.
I think we make more money from the podcast that they do from Tubi.
It's they waved $30,000 in front of my face, and I was like, "Fellas, we're here." And then they were
that's
like,
not unreasonable. They really like that's not for.
Right. I didn't. This is my first foray into like how shitty the entertainment business is. I didn't ask for this. I was just floating around doing my same shitty cat jokes I always do. And then these motherfuckers hit me up and they were like, hey, we like you. We're possibly going to fly you out to LA, then we're going to fly you out to Atlanta. $3,500 an episode. Wow. 10 episodes, 5 weeks. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Can you send them my avails? I appreciate that.
It kind of sounds like they just wanted him to be a line cook at fast food. It's not a show. It's just in the food court.
Can you cut potatoes? Can you trim it up?
Hey, Daniel, I got a Tubi deal for you. $500 every week you work for a kindergarten. Let me tell you. There's no camera.
Is that really? Are they paying you cash under the table, $500 a week to be a lunch lady?
Yeah. Well, not under the table. It's weekly payment. It's like no, but the thing is, it sucks to have to go up to a third grader and try to make him like you because his dad's on the Knicks. Like, it's really just the worst feeling in the world to be like, "Hey, bud, you want extra tater tots? Tell your dad I said hey." Like,
well, you can either do that or send them home with a CD of one of your last shows, and that should shock and awe.
Realistically, you should be selling all of those kids' merch.
Yeah, if you've got that much money at that school, open a fucking merch table at the luncheon. Yeah.
Oh yeah, at the next Scholastic Book Fair, I'll have Final Stop T-shirts posted up.
Yeah. Perfect. Here's your potatoes, and give this to mom and dad. Tell them track 6 is a little offensive, but they might enjoy it.
Yeah, those are the same kids that are going to get sold a gram for $30 in 10 years. Get them in early.
Oh, I'm gonna sell them such shit weed soon. It's gonna be great. As soon as they graduate out of 9th grade, it's me all day, baby.
You and the stolen oregano from the kitchen. Perfect.
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm selling quarters.
I'm trying to be like, it's diamond infused. This is
Yo, this guy put dust in it. It's chip dust.
Kyle, I wanted to ask you, how did you get to GMing of Plano? Are you like a big comedy guy? Do you love it?
I do love comedy. I just got really mad at my boss at my last job, so I updated my resume. And then I got a phone call the next day, and I had a job offer the day after that. And
what the fuck did you update your resume to?
He updated his resume by saying that he's a new host of lunch. What's it called?
Fast food fusion.
That joke would have been so much better had I had the ability to recall the name of the fucking title.
Yeah,
hey, guess what?
Rick, I'm glad it left a mark on you.
Funnier. What's that, Tristan?
I said, I'm glad it left a mark on you.
It did.
Fast food fusion, and it just a pinnacle of TV entertainment.
For me, it fucked me up. Fast food fusion. That's too many.
3 F's? F cubed? You can't handle that.
I cannot handle an F cubed. F to the 4th, maybe. But,
what was your travel ship?
So my travel series.
I asked Kyle a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I sufficiently answered it.
I'm sorry. I don't want to exclude Kyle from the interview. I feel bad.
I didn't even know I was going to be hanging out with headphones.
That's right. I pulled Kyle in. But I'm glad we did, because you guys, from your perspective, think about it. I know we're trying to do something entertaining for your podcast listeners, but it's also a good opportunity, for you guys to hit me up with questions that are relative to being a club owner and you guys being young comics. And conversely, I'm not in Plano. It's Kyle that's there, and there's a unique perspective that he has as a general manager, and he still, what I love about him, he still loves the art, whereas, like I said, I always will love the art. I mean, I'm going to live and die by this art, but unfortunately, when you've been around comedy as long as I have, and even as long as some of you guys have, some of it becomes very mathematical, and even when you hear someone do a setup, you can almost feel and see where the punchline is going to be going. And when you lose that little bit of sense of surprise only because you've figured out the mathematical equation of comedy, you don't really get to bang that funny bone as hard as you once used to. And I think my saddest moments now in comedy clubs are, I'll sit at the back of the room, I'll watch young guys like you, and when I hear something really funny, I'll either verbalize to the person beside me or even out loud to myself, oh, that's a really well-written joke, that's really funny, as opposed to just being a regular human being and fucking laughing at the goddamn.
Right. Is this the thing that you do? Because I've started doing it recently. It's like, you just start thinking of different angles. Instead of hearing out the rest of the joke, he's going to take this.
Oh, I do it all the time. I'm sure, Tristan, I'm sure I've written in tags for you in the past, or when you said something. A lot of comics. I still will watch a show and not just say, oh, that was a good set. I'll try to give someone something constructive. Hey, I really like this bit, but have you thought about maybe going this direction or this direction?
It's honestly like the curse of the comedian. I feel like Nick Mullen has a really good bit about this, just because like comics' sense of humor is so warped since we're just constantly surrounded by comedy. Like the only thing that could make us laugh, and this is just his bit verbatim, is like the only thing that can make comics laugh is just like a deaf guy being chased by bees. And you're just like, ha, that's funny. Just being like, he doesn't know what's going on. Like that's the only sort of thing that'll get us tickled. Is just like the most like, oh look, some kid just fell into a hippopotamus exhibit.
You want to know something that made me laugh out loud harder than anything in 10 years probably? Is I actually saw a human being for real on a sidewalk slip on a banana peel. There's no fucking. Did Looney Tunes just come to life before my very eyes? And it was like the funniest thing I'd ever seen. A guy slip on a banana peel.
One thing that makes me feel really lame is that like something that'll get me laughing is that it used to always crack me up because I used to live by a lake in Arizona up in like my fucking rural community. And it was a man-made lake, and they would just, like, ship in ducks. And these are, like, just terrible ducks. And you would just sit there, and you just... I don't know why it made me laugh every time, but every time it would be silent, and you just hear, like, a... it would make me laugh so hard just because it makes me think the duck being like, hey. And, like, he just sees you on the other side of the lake just being like, got any bread? What's up?
Yeah, what's up?
Just being like...
The Fresh Prince of ducks. It's like, yeah, it came from East Philly, dude. It's a duck. It's a rough duck over there, dude.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, I'll see kids be like, oh my god, it's a duck, and then try to give it, and then just get chased by like 4 other fucking ducks. And it's fucking hilarious to see.
I've seen a man catch a duck by the neck, and that is just something that you shouldn't see. Like it's
you don't want to piss off the geese either, especially if it's a mama geese with her babies.
I was fishing 2 days ago. Really, there was geese floating around like a muff. Do you fish, Rick?
I've done it in the past. It's if I'm going to go and waste 4.5 hours, not waste 4 days.
I'm getting away from my wife. It's not a waste of 4.5 hours.
I'd rather go. For me, I'd rather go golfing for 4.5 hours.
Okay, there's your old Gentile activity.
I'm sorry. I'm just laughing over here, imagining the ping of hitting a goose in the head with a shovel.
I've seen a goose hit in the head with a golf ball. Killed the goose.
Did you see that? That was like the first viral video my dad ever showed me. Was the guy throwing? I think it was a New York Yankee throwing a fastball into a pigeon.
Yeah, it was Randy Johnson.
Yeah, Randy Johnson absolutely smoking a pigeon with like a 93 mile per hour fastball.
Yeah, the bird literally crossed the plate right when the fastball was coming, and this fucking bird exploded.
Out of the park. The
only thing that would have been funnier is if Fabio was the back catcher and it exploded all over him. I don't know if you guys this is predating you guys, but there was that romance cover bottle with the long.
Ironically, the only way I know Fabio is from Old Spice commercials. That's literally
the only reason I'm equating the two is he was on a roller coaster once and a bird fucking blew up in his face, like hit him right in the head.
No way!
Hands up.
Yeah. So when I think of the Randy Johnson, it would have been nice to combine those two moments together to really have the big impact.
A full Sully getting hit by a bird midair. That's a Sully Sullenberger, dude.
Rick, when you saw that geese get hit by a golf ball, was it like a on the head, or was it like that duck got hit by a Civil War cannon?
Oh no, it was. But the guy I was playing with absolutely bladed the fucking. Did not hit him when he should have, and just right for the throat.
The adjective bladed. They just bladed this fucking goose. Oh my god.
You fucking scold this duck.
He did not catch it flush. It was blade. When you bladed, it
was half a pillow before it hit the ground, brother. It was crazy.
I can just imagine the other geese be like, "Oh shit, Fred's done."
No.
Oh fuck!
What was best was the rest of the round. How jittery my friend was about taking another shot when there were geese on the fucking board. Because we just kept calling him GK at that point, Goose Killer. So,
dude, that's so tight.
I don't go golf that often, but I do like the.
You're not white enough. That's the thing. I mean, you're Jewish. You have half the battle.
That's the problem. I'm still a large black guy. I show up at the country club, Rick. Like,
there is a chance. There is a chance he could put some Tiger Woods shit. He just clicks into it.
Yeah, just really get beat into an eagle. Just be like,
I don't. Just the point. I don't want to tell you how much I like you guys, but I'm missing serious time watching the Masters this weekend. It's the Masters, yeah. Tiger made his 24th cut in a row.
Wait, he made it?
The Masters. He made it to the weekend. But
he's gonna wear red.
He'll wear. I'm sure he'll wear traditional red, but he ain't finishing. I think he was he 7 over when we last.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. So he's out of it.
Is Charlie like that? Charlie Woods.
His kid. Yeah, his kid's gonna be a young little phenom. Apparently, he's already a pretty steady stick. Yeah. But I mean, hey, when your dad's Tiger Woods, I would hope that, mind you, it doesn't always relate because my 2 sons are not the funniest people in the world. So
I was going to ask, what is because
are they born wizards?
Because I was going to ask, I don't want my sons to be a quarterback or a comedian. Is that like because like there's a bunch of famous sons of successful guys who like took the same occupation.
Yeah,
is that
Third Rock. Yeah,
I mean, it happens a lot in the acting world, as you know. We all know so many Hollywood children that followed their Hollywood parents into the art. But no, ultimately, I just wanted my kids to create, find their own way, create their own path, find a journey that brought them fulfillment. I'm really lucky. As you guys have already made it very clear to everyone listening, it is fucking hard to make it in show business. It is really, really hard. And I was lucky that I was able to make a livelihood as a professional entertainer. I got to take something that was a childhood hobby, and you guys know as well as I do, when you're killing on stage doing comedy or whatever art you're doing, you would do it for free. You don't even need to get fucking paid. But I'm saying you still would. You know what shows you want to get paid for? The fucking hell gigs, the hard shows where you're pulling teeth. That's where you earn your money. But when it's a magical night and the audience is hot and you have the meeting out of the palm of your hands, don't tell me you wouldn't do that just for the drug of the moment of feeling that good and having that high.
Well, the worst, though, the other side of that is like, it's a hell gig, but I'm also getting only paid in chicken tenders, and it's fucking soft, bro.
And I've seen some acts where even chicken tenders was too much to pay for.
Take a tender.
You can have a celery stick off the chicken tender plate.
You can have the tenders, no sauce though. You're not getting soft, motherfucker.
You want blue cheese, you motherfucker? You see what you did up there?
You are nowhere near blue cheese.
That wasn't a blue cheese set. That was a fat-free ranch.
I love the idea. You already had the chicken ready, but the set sucked, so you just stare him in the eye and give it to someone else.
Just re-gift it to somebody else.
There's a stray dog outside.
Yeah. You crinkle it up like $100 bill and put it in your pocket. This man, like, did he just pocket a tender? What the fuck is going on?
He watched that happen in real time 2 weekends ago. So we were there's these like locally run shows out here. It's called Comedy Madness. And like it does all right. One show, the first show, sold out at the club, kind of closer to you guys. And
I like.
He's talking about Tempe Improv. He's talking about Tempe Improv.
I'm a businessman.
He's talking about JP's. Don't worry.
No free promo. They didn't pay me, by the way. That's the point of the story. And they were.
Well, I used to get mad at you guys when I heard that you were doing sets at other clubs where you had to pay a drop-in fee to be on the stage.
Absolutely fucking nuts. That's common play in New York.
Well, no, that should not. As an artist.
I paid $5 to bomb in Harlem.
And yet you're doing it for free right now. That's the amazing thing about this industry.
We're not in Harlem.
No, it's really, if there's anything that makes me super angry is hearing when shit like that happens, because look, I'm the first to admit, I know I'm now in the role of being the dreaded club owner, because as a touring comic, more often than not, the club owners were known for being, fucking you over as much as you can. But I recognize how difficult it is to make a buck in this business and how hard it is to make it as an entertainer and how little the support acts get paid already. Like, I mean, I'm not blind to that fact. The problem is the economics of a club. And nowadays, as we've just talked about with some of these bigger headliners coming through and big social media followings, they're able to command upwards of 90% of the gate of the ticket revenue, which doesn't leave a lot of money to pay everyone else on the fucking
Well,
bill.
I had that question because we're in probably the biggest comedy boom of all. Comedy's huge right now. Has it been easier to be a club owner because guys can move tickies, or is it harder to be a club owner because now guys, can sell out?
It'd be like, I want a door deal, not a guarantee.
Exactly.
I'd say it's challenging in this respect that you have guys that can put the asses in the chairs that have the social media followings. But as you guys both know, often that doesn't equate to someone being a really funny stand-up comedian. It just means they made funny videos online and have attracted a loyal and large fan base. And that helps sell tickets, and it helps even sell some drinks, and it helps sell some food. But I opened this club, my first club, with the idea of if it wasn't going to be someone who had a name that could draw, is I wanted crowd pleasers. I wanted acts that could fucking kill. I wanted acts when an audience watched them perform, they immediately say to themselves when they leave, why don't we do this more often? Why are we only going twice a year to see live comedy, or
That's
some
really
people
good,
once a year? I was always trying from the very, very beginning. And I'm glad Kyle's listening to this because it's giving him a bit of a background as to how I opened the first club. But I always wanted it to be the type of thing where when people saw comedy, they immediately thought, oh, we're going to do this more frequently, bring some more friends, come back again and again and again. And that's why I was never offended when, another comedy club would open or this, that, or the other thing, because it's like I equate it to a movie. When a movie comes out, it doesn't just go onto one screen in one market. It goes on to dozens of screens in that same market. And as long as there is a lot of comedy, then people are going to recognize it and believe it to be a viable night out and something that they should be doing more often. When there's only one club in a market, then it does feel kind of like the redheaded stepchild at times. But I'll absolutely say that it really, to answer your question, it depends on the market, because Kyle, I think, is probably in our toughest market. And reason being, Kyle, how many comedy clubs in Dallas-Fort Worth now?
I think there's 16.
16.
Are you serious?
All right. And this isn't even fucking Austin, where Joe Rogan is, where there's also a boatload of clubs in Austin as well. Like Texas is really, you talk about the comedy being a boom. When you got guys like Rogan who have made half of LA relocate to Texas, right. It tells you about the power of the medium. It's comedy ain't going anywhere. When first comedy clubs first started opening, really in the 70s and 80s, when it started to boom, there were a lot of people that I think might have thought at that time, in that day and age, is, all right, well, this is the next disco club. It'll be around for 10 years and then it'll vanish. But what's really cool is you look at most stand-up comedy club locations, most of them have been in their original homes in the same spot for sometimes 20, 30.
Well, those are the biggest clubs in the country are the cellar and the store, and that's half of their allure is like we've been here
forever and a day. Yeah. Same thing like Ice House, I think, was the oldest club in the West Coast.
Yeah, Pasadena. Yeah.
And that was like 1960. Bob opened it, I believe, something like that.
Do you know? Is there like I remember one time you introduced me to the old owner of the Boston Comedy Club,
John Tobin.
Yeah,
Laugh Boston.
Is there like an upper, like the same way that the 1% of comedians all know each other? Do all the comedy club owners at least know?
Yes and no. I don't know all of them, but over the years at festivals, it's interesting. For me, you guys, I'm sure can appreciate this. When I first started going to comedy festivals, I was going as a stand-up comic. Mm-hmm. So I was just trying to schmooze with agents, TV execs, managers, anyone that would give me the time of day. Mm-hmm. But now when you go back as a club owner, I do find myself congregating with other club owners. And I definitely don't speak to all the club owners out there, but I'd say there's, 10%. Like I'm good friends with still Vinnie Brandt out in New Jersey, mm-hmm. Wendy at the Comedy Works in Denver, Wendy Curtis, who runs some great rooms in Denver and has also done a really good job developing young comics that came out of Colorado.
That's one of the better clubs.
Great room, yeah. And I talked to, I haven't spoken to him in a while, but Mark Grossman, who owns all the Heliums out there, he's kind of like John and I, where, we're club owners that have multiple rooms across the country. Yeah, it's kind of crazy for a guy that I started just as a comic. I just wanted to be doing what you guys are doing every day, creating, writing, entertaining. But somehow I ended up with a comedy club in every time zone in North America.
Well, I was going to say, when did you go from, okay, I have a club, this is awesome, I got a thing, to like, let's be a franchise. Let's move this around.
So it happened kind of organically, and fortunately, it was a little bit of luck as well and timing. But my first club I opened was at the comic strip in West Edmonton Mall in Canada. Mm-hmm. And the family that owns the West Edmonton Mall also owned the Mall of America in Minnesota. And I think they kind of quickly recognized how having all these celebrities come to our club was drawing a lot of talent and people to their shopping center. And so they gave me the offer to go into Minnesota, and then we opened in Minnesota. And in between that, I had also opened up a dueling piano bar in Edmonton at one point. But after we opened Minnesota, I kind of got back into doing what I know how to do, which is comedy. And then we slowly started opening up even more rooms, And then, of course, you guys, two of you might remember, because I opened two clubs on January 1st, 2020. I opened the coffee shop Speakeasy here, in Arizona. And on the same night, I opened a comedy club in Vancouver, British Columbia. And I was basically open for 6-7 weeks before both those clubs had to shut the fuck down.
Holy shit! Oh, so you were 3 months ahead of what all the stuff happened.
And depending on what market we were in and how far left that market leaned would determine how long we were closed for. So I had some markets that we were closed over a year.
And that explains why I met you, why you were hanging around here so much. Well,
there was a few reasons I was here a lot. One, I had a second home here, so it made it easier. Two, as no one is. Everyone seems to know this in the industry, but I've been going through a very lengthy divorce with my ex-wife, and we're still obviously business partners. So there was a lot of reasons for me to be out here. Second of all, I also like the lifestyle, and I really do. Like, for the most part, I'm probably more connected with the Arizona comedy scene because I have a home here than any other market. I try to stay up on top of it. I check in with our booker at the Dallas club, Brittany, who you know, mm-hmm. And try to get a sense of who the guys are coming up. But conversely, I also rely on my managers a lot. We read our end of day reports every day, and often they'll say how the acts did and who did well, and we put a lot of stock into that.
There's notes left like that?
Fucking right, there.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
There's notes left to be like, it's like a suck.
Absolutely.
It was horrible.
The note you don't want to hear is like, tonight was DBG and Friends, and there was about 12 people in the showroom. That's the note. That's the note you don't want to hear.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Ray, I had a question for you. So you've seen the markets in almost every place that you like.
Yeah, I've seen him as a performer. Right. I performed. There's not a lot of cities in North America I haven't been to. But from a club owner perspective, there's, like I said, mentioning the Wendy's and Bibby's of the world, there's certainly a bunch of guys that I respect their rooms and go in and check. But yeah, go on.
But what I was going to say is like this applies for both of you guys too, since the GM and then you've been just around the country and the world. Like, is there because every comic has that specific group when they walk into the club, you're like, God fucking damn it. Dude, like for me, it's like, like those overly loud bachelorette parties where you're like, this is going to be a goddamn nightmare, bro. Do you have like a group, like a specific, like when you see like...
Yeah, I have a support group for when we have to endure shit like that. No, I will say though, what you brought up actually puts an interesting thought in my head. It's something else I've shared many times in comedy, but I've always said you could probably lock me in a basement, blindfold me, keep me in the dark so that I lose complete sense of time, space, and what have you. Blindfold me, take me into a van, bring me into a dark comedy club, put me on stage, and I can probably tell you what day of the week it is, roughly what time of day it is, just based on how the audience reacts. Also, conversely, I can tell you if you have me on stage on a full moon, and I can tell you if I'm on stage for New Year's Eve or Halloween. Now, Halloween's obviously costumes, but New Year's and Halloween, and a distant third is St. Patty's Day.
Oh, yeah.
God-given fucking right to be a drunk nuisance in public. And I am just helping the show by yelling shit out. Yeah, you're helping. Thank you.
Yeah, I just did a St. Patrick's Day show, and it was so fucking aggressive, dog. It was just nonstop being like, that shit was funny, bro. I was like, dude, let me do it then, motherfucker. God damn it, bro.
Your blend of everything is wildly funny. You're like a curmudgeon-y Jewish Canadian guy. You're like, what?
Who currently has immigration issues, a breakup with an ex-girlfriend, and my eldest son, who him and I are in conflict right now. So, yeah, as I told my therapist just this morning, again, not making any, I'm a very transparent mother. I even told Kyle, I've got an hour-long phone call this morning that I got to do. But, yeah, most people are typically dealing with one life trauma at a time, one thing, but for whatever reason, I like to pound this shit on and get it all dealt with over a 4-year period right after COVID.
It's called, Ricky, it's called a speed run. You're speed running all the time.
Well, I guess that's my problem is I'm more of a power walker than a runner.
Yeah.
Rick's just rocking through the trauma.
I didn't know that was enough.
Yeah.
Just do it all at one time, get it out of the way.
Apparently, at least I'm trying to become the poster child for that. Anyways,
Yeah.
That's what you want. That's a smart way to go. Time-wise, where are we at?
We're about an hour-ish, yeah.
Wow, am I already the longest interview? What's going on?
Yeah.
This is good. I want to.
We have Daniel has a question that he likes to ask all the guests we have on
Thank God
on the
for that.
podcast.
Thank God.
You wanna lead them into this?
Yeah.
Have we even done questions? I feel like we've just kind of shot the shit. Like there really hasn't been.
No.
Like I'm basically pointing out, you guys did not prepare at all. Out of all the podcasts I've ever done.
It's been an hour and we haven't done it. What the fuck do you mean we didn't prepare?
Apparently, he's the man that leads the podcast, so blame it on him then.
Yeah. First of all, we run this thing fast. Let's do it.
That's been good. You guys are doing I'm proud of all three of you. It's like I said, I really do take like when Tristan moved to New York, it was very bittersweet for me because obviously I liked having him around. I liked feeling like I was a bit of a role model or I could groom him a little. But it's also, I'm equally as proud when I hear, you're leaving next. He's already there. You're thinking to hear that but to hear that, my Arizona guys who, like I said, before I came here, that really didn't feel like there was a strong independent scene. There were a lot of comics from Arizona, but you guys really didn't have your own scene. You traveled to Vegas. I feel like your proximity to cities like LA and Las Vegas almost made you guys feel like, oh, we're not a real entertainment city. The real entertainment city is 5 hours that way.
I say it all the time, but it makes no sense that Rogan chose Austin. We have everything.
Tax breaks.
We got guns, we got weed, we have 5 very strong clubs, we have very talented It makes no sense. This is the strongest I was talking before, this is the strongest non-poll market that you can live in. Like, people give New Orleans a lot of props.
I don't feel there's enough rooms in New Orleans for it to be...
Yeah, Boston's like an old kind of grandfathered in.
Boston's a great comedy. Most of the Northeast, New York, Boston, even Washington, D.C. How many great comics have come out of Washington, which is really amazing. I'll tell you why, because one of the things I absolutely hated as a performer, my least favorite cities to perform in were highly political cities, Ottawa, Washington, because even the days before woke and cancel culture, these fuckers already were woke and political cities.
A little more touchy?
Yeah.
A little more touchy?
Yeah.
They haven't found the hair dye yet, but you can see it coming in.
I don't know what to do with all this angst.
I feel my roots turning purple. What's happening to me?
The color purple has been fully explained through an Oprah Winfrey movie.
Didn't they just do another remake of it as well?
They did. It was bad.
Was it not worth
watching?
watching?
It's bad for blacks and whites. Kind of similar with the first color purple. It's not.
Yeah, I typically don't watch anything based on the color of the actors, but I guess in the color purple, it's important. Who was it? It was the Arnold Schwarzenegger joke. That's what it was. The comic used to say, here's my impression of Arnold Schwarzenegger in the color purple. I'll be black. Perfect.
The old Robert Downey Jr.
I honestly, dude, I think one of the most underrated, and you know, it's funny, Kyle and I on the way over here were literally talking about TV shows and films that couldn't get greenlit today, that wouldn't have been passed, and I think that's one of them. I really do.
You mean Italian man dressed in blackface wouldn't go over it?
Yeah, no, but yet at the same time, I mean, say what you want. It was a phenomenal fucking performance.
It was the concept of the whole thing. We're shooting a war movie. And then a war. The whole thing.
I loved it. I actually was a real sucker for that. I loved that movie. I really did. I love Tropic Thunder. It's one of those comedies that I've rewatched.
1 second. Times. I'll be right back. I have to go. I have to give my cat medicine real quick.
You said you'll be black. What'd you say?
I'll be right. I'll be right black man. I have to give my cat medicine.
I'll be right black.
Your cat needs it at a specific time. That's how your cat works. No, like your cat can tell between 2:30 and 2:40.
I mean, if it's lunchtime, yeah.
No, it's my girlfriend texting me asking if I gave the cat medicine, being like, "Oh fuck, I gotta give the cat medicine."
This cat's 17.
Shit.
The cat.
Cat's 17, weighs about 45 pounds.
I'll be 35 seconds. I'll be right back.
So the cat outweighs Tristan. Tristan's about 40 pounds soaking wet.
No one else can on this man.
But the camera's not giving the perspective of how he is.
I didn't think he was sitting in the world's largest couch. I figured that was a normal couch.
That was the best line of the day. Timestamp that shit. Pull that out for the highlight reel.
I thought he was in a futon.
Well, that's why I asked him where he was, because I've never seen such a blacked out apartment before. It's like he practices his mime work when we're not here.
It does kind of. I forget that the curtains look weird to outside. We have black curtains. So
you got them back here too?
Yeah, I got them back here too. So
but yours looks like, when I look at the screen here, you've got the art on the wall. It looks a little, looks
this
like.
This all get edited into a black hole. It's just such a dark whatever. But yeah, the art on the wall is all my thing. It's like cats and pictures of New York and Phoenix and shit.
So when you move out to New York and she's in are you packing all this? You're not keeping the place and subletting it, are you?
So I'm currently financing 2 apartments right now, and then
shit.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So you already started having to pay for your New York place?
No, for hers.
For her place in Albany.
Yeah, that's the thing. And then we're gonna move out here, and then me and Andrew are gonna drive across the country.
Have you ever done a road trip with someone that refuses to drive, Rick?
Yeah, I have. I toured with a comic that had cerebral palsy. Fucking bastard, never drove.
Okay, because I'm driving with a black Jewish man.
He had the audacity to drive that chair around.
But I will say, thanks to him and his placard for handicap parking, I had like the best parking on that tour. I was always right in front of the venue. Can show up 10 seconds before getting on stage and know I'd have the front parking spot.
Just that falls with prime parking because this thing's retarded.
And he helped me write a great joke too, because I remember talking to, I used to do a joke on stage that, we become so uptight, you can't make fun of disabilities. There's nothing you can make fun of. I go, the only time people feel that they can do that is every time I have an asshole that borrows my glasses and puts my glasses on, and they'll always say, "Holy cow, man, you were fucking blind. You're so blind." Yet if I should kick my best friend Cam out of his wheelchair, sit down, go, "Jesus Christ, Cam, were you ever fucking crippled?" That's not funny, right?
Sure, don't talk about not being able to. Have you met Mason, bro? You can make fun of that motherfucker.
No, Mason and Aldo both came up to Edmonton, so I got to spend some time with them up in Canada in the home club.
Mason is a quarter second away from doing the stanky leg at all times.
Yeah,
bro. Lev hit him. I was there.
Lev fair?
Yeah, he hit him with the funniest thing because Mason was doing a joke about how laughter is the best medicine. Lev goes on stage immediately after and was like, "Hey Mason, have you tried telling your legs jokes before?"
Oh God, that's great though. That's really quite fun. All right, hit me up with your questions so I can take my friend Kyle for. We're going to go relax for an hour, and then we have to get into work early this evening because although it's been mostly fun and games and us getting a chance to believe it or not, even though Kyle's worked for us for a year, it's the first time him and I are meeting face to face. So,
shit.
So last night we had kind of like a fun little social night. I had a few cocktails, went out with another general manager of ours from the Speakeasy for dinner, and today's going to be share our intel day, talk strategy, and my hope and why Kyle's out here is I'm trying to bring the speakeasy concept out to the Texas area.
Yeah. Okay, over here. I don't know. I'll take you guys up too long.
No, it's been fun. I hope this has been good for you.
This is
I mean, like I said, I haven't listened to any of your podcasts before, so I don't know where this stands.
This is probably the better side of them.
Oh, well,
Yeah, you and most people. This is what me, Daniel, or Andrew have ever talked. But
I don't understand. Aren't you interviewing other comedians? Shouldn't they have the ability to just ramble on incessantly like me? Like, who are you interviewing more often than not?
And just lessers, you know?
Just a bunch of.
Is that another word for goyim? Just
yeah.
Bunch of goy ass niggas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bunch of New York goys out here. Besides the last guy we had on, my buddy Rowie, he's like Jewish in the sense where he reads the biblical text and he's just like, worms exist that are also Jewish. And it's like, all right, cool. That's fine.
I'm yet to see a circumcised worm, so until that happens.
It's not going to get better than circumcised worm. We appreciate you for joining the cast.
No. Hit me with the questions. You had questions, you said.
Bro, he said encore, Daniel. Go.
An encore.
Did you want to wrap this? You say
Since are we in the latter half of the podcast? Who do you hate at House of Comedy? Names.
I can ask questions forever. It sound like you to get out of here.
No, it's not that I need. No, you said you wanted to hit me up with some questions.
Oh,
I was trying to give you guys a natural transitional point.
Okay, I do have one.
You go first.
And it's back to your comic days. Do you have like a city where like you just have like it gives you flashbacks of fear when you're like, bro, that show was fucking tough?
I don't know if I'd equate it to a city. You know, every comic's had their struggle shows. I'll tell you the worst moment I've ever had on stage. I was doing a gig in the West Island of Montreal. It was at a restaurant, makeshift comedy club. And their stage was 4 empty milk cartons and plywood on top of the milk cartons. And I put the mic stand at the front left side of the stage, and I walked towards the top right of the stage, and it caused enough of a tipping motion that the mic stand leaned over and smacked basically Mrs. Doubtfire, like a 75-year-old grandmother, in the head to a point that it cut her open, right? And I promise you guys, I don't care how charming or funny you think you are, there is no coming back after you've stabbed a senior citizen.
There's no punchline that's going to dig you out of that hole.
Just a lady needs.
Hey, Rick, bet. I think I can dig myself out of that hole.
If there is anybody that can, Tristan, I will agree. It would be.
Yeah, I'll look at you just being like, where were you at the Nuremberg trials? You deserve this shit. All right? Where were you in Austria? All right?
I got one. And the one about this week. What is, regardless of how many tickets you sell, whether you're selling out 6 shows or you are we may have to cancel this late show headliner, what is like a please do not do that trope of headline? Because none of us are there yet, so we don't know. We get to work with these guys occasionally.
I think one of the biggest errors I see from comics alike when it is a kind of a smaller crowd like that is comics tend to they'll kind of beat up the audience for being a small audience. And I always used to think to myself, don't be mad at the 12 fucking people that are here right now. Get on the phone and call the 300 others that aren't here and give them shit. Those are the ones to do. I just always think you need to treat every performance like it matters. And some of my best, I once did a show for 5 people at an auditorium at a college gig in, I think it was Massachusetts or Rhode Island, somewhere in the Northeast. I don't remember where now. But they booked me during a time of year when everyone fucks off and goes back, almost like a Thanksgiving, goes to visit their family.
Yeah.
So it was literally 5 people in an auditorium, and I walked one of them. I can honestly say I once did a show where I walked 20%.
20%.
Yeah.
I didn't like that magic trick. That was racist. Fuck off.
And strangely, that's actually what ended up happening. I didn't even do my comedy. 5 people. I was in the middle of the auditorium. Right. Out there with a deck of cards and like, here we go, pick a card.
Right. I'm honestly imagining you doing almost like this with blackface, just so you're just just be like, oh, yeah, it was there and then it wasn't. Look at that.
Yeah, that was so. Yeah, I guess my answer in short is I don't really equate a bad performance to, as opposed to, like I said, I don't like performing in political cities, and I don't like performing in places like Utah as well, where
the drinking laws and stuff,
is so through the roof. And
Bud Light's 3.2 a can. I don't even want to go.
And you get one, maybe.
Rick, one final question, if I may ask: what is
Yes.
worse, bombing as a comedian or bombing as a magician?
Bombing as a comedian, for sure. The old joke for a hack joke that comic magicians used to say, they literally say, I'm so-and-so and I do comedy and magic. Whatever you don't find funny is strictly magic. So comedy, especially in this day and age where people want their entertainment quick, fast, and hit hard right at their face, if you don't have the laughs per minute that you really require to be a successful comic, it is a painstaking journey, and it is a quiet fucking place to be when you are in a tough crowd. But when you're doing magic, you can take longer to build up to get to that wow moment, and people will hang in a little bit. But in comedy, if you can't keep them hanging on the entire time, you guys know how quickly and easily it is to lose a room.
Oh, I think talking about magic, I did have one because like a lot of times you'll see comics, you're like, that's a hack premise. It's a hack joke he's making. Is there like a hack magic trick that you see performers do?
Magic is even hackier than comedy, so much so that if you go to a magic store like in Las Vegas and you buy like a card trick or a packet trick, there's one word that's still used in magic, and I don't even hear it ever used in real world settings anytime, anywhere. When you buy the magic trick, it shows you the instructions to how to perform it, but then it also includes a word called patter. In other words, these are the words you should say while performing this trick. And undoubtedly, most magicians or whoever bought the trick from the store are doing the exact same routine almost verbatim. So I'd suggest it's probably even hackier.
Okay, for sure.
I would suggest.
Damn, that'd be fucking crazy if you go into an open mic and just like, here's my zine of a knock-knock jokes. Like, here you go. And just being like, you can use this. It's copyright free, I guess. In the same respect that, like, the happy birthday song you could use. This is that.
Well, here, let's end on a knock-knock. This is my favorite knock-knock joke of all time. Yes. Knock-knock.
Who's that?
To
who?
To whom?
Oh, fuck off. Fuck off.
We'll see you guys later. Thank you for Rick.
Tris, good seeing you in New York, buddy.
Yeah.
Come back and visit.
I'm gonna, as long as you don't say that knock-knock joke again. That was bad.
It felt fitting. You're the one who set it up with the knock-knock reference.
I mean, I guess
I could be there to close it out. Come on, motherfucker.
Listen,
You gotta close it out and then hit a bubble.
yeah, it's I don't know why, but I feel like Canadian people say the N-word differently, and I want to hear it.
You're definitely never going to hear from that. You want to hear my? I don't even know if I can share this story. My Donnell Rawlings story.
Share it now.
But I have to say an N-bomb, and
I know.
Buddy.
So I'm working with Donnell.
Starting the story with saying you have to say that.
I'm about to cancel culture myself on this podcast.
Is it? I mean, like, is that all I have to do? Is just being like, guys, I have to say the N-word during this. And they're like, I'll hear you out.
So Donnell was at my club in Minnesota, and I was there for him that weekend. I was emceeing, and he was just having a rough patch with his lady, and and I was kind of his listening post for the whole weekend, and we kind of chummed up, and we were good buddies, and at the end of the weekend, he's on stage, and he's talking a Sunday night, and he's thanking the audiences, and he's thanking the club, and then he closes up by saying, I want to give a special thank you to Rick Bronson, and then he goes on saying he's only been 2 white guys that he's ever referred to as my and one was Kevin Brennan, and the other one was me. And it was actually a really nice moment. It wasn't meant to. It wasn't just.
It was inspirational.
It was being sincere. So after the show, I call up my then wife, and I'm sitting with Donnell having a drink, and I go, Tammy, you missed one of the most lovely moments in comedy. Donnell called me his on stage. This is
adding in a comment.
This is my point. I'm Canadian. We never drop N-bombs. And then Donnell quickly corrects me and goes, that's So now, when I even visualize the word, I spell it with A-A-A-W-W, like a lot of like at the end.
Yeah.
I never want to fuck that shit up.
Don't look at me. You looked at me like I was going to save you. You said the first one, and I was like, wow, he really said it. That wasn't it.
No, this is how
I thought you were going
But
to
that's
pause the
God's
story and go,
honest
that
truth.
was
Like,
not the word.
And DB, I mean, come on, you know me.
Cheers to you, Mr. Ricky. Cheers to you.
I think we can all admit there's not a racist vote in my fucking body.
That's the most Jewish way. You go, come on, we're both minorities.
Why the fuck did I do this podcast?
We'll bleep it. We'll bleep it.
That's as
Man.
good as it gets. Fucking Rick Bronson, Kyle Graves, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it. I gotta go piss like a damn
I have to
racehorse.
pee too.
Yeah, this is awesome. We'll see you guys later.
We don't have jobs anymore.